Welcome back to Eyes on the Game. Of course, I'm your host, Helen Yee. Now, I have a very special guest joining me on the show today. She was actually someone I looked up to as a teenager when I used to watch WWE all the time, and is one of the greatest women wrestlers of all time and Hall of Famer, and she's been so busy doing so much since retiring in 2006. She owns a yoga studio and now is in a movie that's out today. You guys can, own it on Blu-ray and DVD. It's called Gridlock. So I'm very excited to have Trish Stratus join me on the show right now. Thank you so much.
Oh, thanks for having me, Helen.
Absolutely. So first off, I want to talk about the new movie that's out, Gridlock. Now, what was it like, working on this film?
Oh, wow. It was an amazing opportunity. I had done one film back in 2011 called Bounty Hunters, and then I sort of whisked away from the world of acting and just basically was building my business, building my brand, and becoming a mom. So I became a mom, and that obviously takes a huge amount of time and focus. All that 9 months of being pregnant, and of course grooming your little baby as he comes into the world.
Yeah.
And I think he was about, I'm going to say 5 or 6 months old when I actually met with an agent, and it was just upon the advice of my friend Adam, who's Edge, otherwise known as Edge. And he had, worked with this agent we were both from Toronto. So he said, yeah, you should just take a meeting with them. So I was kind of just coming out of my baby bubble at that point. I thought, okay, well, I'm ready to sort of, see what's out there. And so I took a meeting with him, and I'd kind of set my parameters with him. I said, listen, I have to be honest. The truth is I'm a new mom. First of all, that's of course a priority. And also my business, I had just opened up my second yoga studio. And so I kind of said, my business is obviously a big thing that I have to keep, just have that in consideration. And I can't just fly off to LA and have an audition and things like that. So just, if we can work in those parameters, and I kind of left that meeting thinking, listen, if this is meant to be, then the universe will let me know if this is the right move, the right direction. And I would say not even 2 weeks later, I don't even think we'd signed a contract yet. He gave me a call and said, well, I think this might fall within your parameters. He said, it's filming in Toronto, which is my hometown, which I didn't have to leave town. He said it's with these big-time actors, it was Danny Glover and Stephen Lang, Vinnie Jones, and obviously Dominic Purcell from Prison Break. And I was like, oh, my God, I love him,
Yeah.
And the best part is, he says, it's an action film. You're the female lead in it, the only female in the film. And the fight scenes are just incredible. Let me send you the script. So, it was just like, I looked at the universe like, okay, this is a perfect sign. And it was just, so the fight scenes were incredible. They definitely drew me. But the fact that I'd be working with these high caliber actors, very lucky to be given this opportunity right away. And it was great. The movie itself, what a great process. I enjoyed the process itself. And the final product is it's a really good movie. Not to say I was surprised, but when I watched it back, at the screenings, you don't know, right? You film this movie, it takes months of filming, and you're kind of in a vacuum, right? And you hope it comes out great, but how do you know, and when it came together, I whispered to my husband, I'm like, that was really good. It's a good movie. And I also was talking about, I'm really good in this movie. cause you don't know how it's going to translate, right? So the movie itself, it's like your old school Die Hard Lethal Weapon kind of throwback movie. So it's got the real action, lots of shoot 'em up action, lots of fight scenes, and the drama literally starts from the beginning. And then it also has a bit of the comedic element from the two leads. You've got Cody Hackman and Dominic Purcell, and he plays this kind of bratty, Justin Bieber kind of type of celebrity that has to ride along with this tough, gritty cop. So the dynamic between them, some great comedic moments. It's really fun. I got to say, it's really a fun, action-packed movie that I think people will enjoy from start to finish.
Now, which character do you play?
So my character's name is Gina, and she's the only female in the film, which is something I'm kind of used to being. I'm used to being the female in the male-dominated world. So that was familiar to me. And so Gina's just basically, she's your, tough as nails kind of character who knows she's got to keep this tough exterior because she's got these guys around her. She's got to prove like she's one of the boys and she's tough and, she means business. And so, and then of course when the baddies come on the scene, she's got to show that she means business. She's not some chick that you can, just, ignore. So, so this very strong female, and loved it. Obviously, it related a lot to my character in Trish Stratus of wrestling, so it was very similar, a lot of parallels in that regard. And yeah, she delivers. I would say, I was told that I have one of the most brutal fight scenes in the entire movie, in a good way, so I was pretty proud of that.
Yeah. And so when you mentioned, with WWE, and it wasn't too hard to transition, I kind of want to talk about, your wrestling background. I know that you retired in 2006, and by the way, I used to watch, your matches with Lita all the time and be like, oh my gosh, I want to be like that. Do you ever tell yourself I want to come back someday, or is it kind of beyond that point now where, you just will make appearances and you're done for good?
I mean, I think in the wrestling world, it's maybe a rule that we just never say we're done for good, because as you see, people just keep coming back. They just really do. I mean, everyone from The Rock, Ric Flair to The Rock to, Stone Cold Steve Austin, you name it, right? We've all kind of done our comebacks for sure, right? Whether we're retired, quote unquote, or not. So, I'll never go back to regular action, I'm sure, because obviously there's other things in my world that take me away from that kind of a grind. But I honestly, I just always kind of kept the door open. I've said, if there's something that's going to be challenging, or I can put over someone else in the world, elevate another character, then I would definitely consider it. That would be sort of my parameters, I guess you could say, to go back. But something that the fans would dig, and it would be challenging for me, just entertaining, exciting, something new I could play with. Because, it's always about character development out there, right? You're always playing with a character. So if there's something new I could bring, I think I'd consider it. It would be interesting to consider. But, like I say, never say never in the wrestling world.
Yes. But what's your thought on, the WWE women's division today? Because I know they recently brought back, the women's title. So what do you think about where that's heading now?
It's in the right direction. It has been a long time coming. I was so excited about it when they brought back the title. I wrote a blog about it on my site, trishstratus.com, but because I just felt like it was just the time. Everything was pointing in that direction. It needed to happen. The women were just the caliber of talent they were bringing in, right? They were just a whole different level of talent, and they had really defined characters. And that's one thing about wrestling, is it's the defined characters and the storylines that make the fights mean something, right? So that was kind of missing from the women for many years after I left. And so when they started really having these defined characters and storylines that they were given, and fans, it was giving the fans something to get behind and become invested in the women's product. So when, you started to see that, it was like, I had said that several times. I said, man, they got to get rid of that Divas title now and make them really fight for the women's title, because that's what it's about, right? It's about, you're in this, as a female in this business, you want to fight for the women's title. That's what you want to become, a women's champion, right? So, so when they brought it back, it was a really great moment, and there were definitely, things are looking up, and there's some good stuff happening right now for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And I remember, a lot of memorable matches that you and Lita had, but you guys are best friends, right?
Yeah, she's my bestie. She's my son's godmother. So we've decided, we've, kept her in the family. That was one way of us kind of, sort of always forever staying connected, by making her my son's godmother. So she's a very good friend of the family and very close to me still.
And how old's your son now?
He's 2.5.
Oh my gosh. So I'm sure you've been very busy with that, and also your yoga studio and acting and everything. But will you be back to WWE for SummerSlam in August?
I have no plans unless you know something that I don't know.
not yet.
You let me know, Helen,
I do. Awesome. And I do know. Do you watch any UFC at all? Because Brock Lesnar is gonna go back to UFC for 200 in a few weeks. So I was wondering, if you watch MMA at all.
The funny thing is I do. I'm a fan of, when GSP was in the scene. Just being a Canadian. yeah, him being a Canadian, of course, us Canadians tend to get behind other Canadians. But, watching him and stuff rise. And then, to be honest, when Brock entered the UFC is when I kind of really started watching, and mostly because it's someone I knew I could relate to. I was curious. I wanted to see what he could do. So I started sort of tuning in for him. I don't watch it to be honest, it's not really part of my regular viewing schedule. But and now that Brock's talking about going back, definitely like my interest is piqued. I'm curious. I'm going to tune in certainly to see what's going to happen because it's my world. It's from my world, so it's someone I know, and it's like I know this guy. I want to see what he's going to do. I'm hopeful. I'm proud of him. I think it's bold for him, and I'm curious to see what's going to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be a good fight. But once again, I know you're very busy, so I greatly appreciate your time. And also, the movie Gridlock, which once again, it's available to own on Blu-ray and DVD today. So make sure you guys pick up your copy. And Trish, for all the fans and listeners, where can they follow you on social media?
So my handle is Trish Stratus com, C-O-M. So, and then my website's trishstratus.com. So we have all our updates there. We actually even have we have limited copies, but we have the Blu-ray and DVD available of Gridlocked there we have a store there. So it's available there, and I signed about several hundred copies last night, and we mailed them out today. So those are out in the mail, and we had a big thing, so people got, so that's kind of the perk of coming to my website and getting it personally autographed. So my wrist is very tired from that, but it was more than my pleasure to do it. But yeah, Trish Stratus.com, and fans can follow me there.